Hey, ladies, and welcome back to Dare to Be Different. Coming with that exclusiveness, that realness, and positivity, where you will get encouraged, be uplifted, and I hope all is well with every one of you ladies. I know life is just a lot to deal with. I welcome you back to my podcast, Dare to Be Different. This is a safe place for all you women where you can find the encouragement that you need, find the positivity that you need, and get uplifted as a woman. We are beautiful. We are needed. We have a responsibility. And I'm just blessed to be able to come on here and speak in such a way that is just encouraging. I would like to connect with every one of you sisters deeply, encourage you, and just build a relationship. I'm here to help you evolve. I'm here to help you come into realization. I'm here to help you elevate. I'm here to help you just overall. Dare to Be Different is going to change your life in many different ways. Allah has given me this podcast so that He can get the glory out of everything, so that His will can be done on this platform. MashaAllah. Also, so that we can come together as women. Oh, yeah. MashaAllah means God has willed it for any non-Muslims out there listening. We need someone who is going to hold you accountable for your actions, not hold your hand, but hold you accountable. Someone who is just going to speak life into you, and that person is me. As women, we need to come together even more. Most of us have children, but some may not have children, and that is okay. There is no exemption. But there are many different ways we can help each other grow, evolve spiritually, physically, and emotionally, help each other grow. I dare you to be different. Step outside the box. Do things differently. Figure out things about yourself that could positively affect the next person, the next woman. We have so many characteristics, so many qualities that only women possess. I love being a woman, and Allah created me as I am. I'm doing what I love to do, which is encourage, which is uplift, be positive, and speak life. I want to touch base back on the last episode that I brought forth to you about realizing reality hitting me in 2021. When I began to wake up spiritually, when I began to wake up and realize that I was living incorrectly, I was not pleasing Allah. I was not living for Allah. I've always believed in Allah. I've always had faith, but not understanding what that really meant. Until 3 years ago, down the line, I have truly grown. I have evolved emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Although I'm still working on the physical part, working out is a mind thing. And I have to consistently shift my mind into perspective. And that's with everything. Establish a new way of thinking to shift your mind into thinking more positively, because the way you're thinking and the way your outlook on life may not be correct. We have to shift our perspective in order for us to see things differently. It is very important. When I realized at that point it was time for me to begin my spiritual journey with Allah, it was time for me to fully walk with Allah. The vision for my life was revealed at the beginning of my walk. I found out what I was called to do and developed more insights along the way as I began the work, the internal work that desperately needed to be done. When you decide to let go of everything and fully submit to the Creator, There's work that needs to be done. There is a transformation that has to happen spiritually and physically. Although it was hard, it was very challenging as challenges has arisen. I've overcame obstacles, many obstacles in my life. I've gone through times of being homeless when I decided to give my life to Allah. I didn't know what I was in for. I did not know what was to come, but I knew I was on the road to becoming the better version of myself. I knew that it was going to take work, but I didn't know it was going to be a lot of hard work and dedication. But with anything we do in life, it takes hard work and dedication in order to get there. So when you decide to wake up, or when Allah wakes you up supernaturally, just know it will be hard work and dedication, and just stay the course. I have stayed the course no matter the attacks from Shaitan, the devil, that try to attack me in many different ways, many different forms, and try to get me to stumble and try to get me to fall. But he is weak. I continued to rise up and rise above. I continued to persevere through the hard times of my life. I've gone through things in my life that I never imagined that I would be going through when I faced hardships like homelessness. I did have a choice whether to go back home, which is in Indiana, where I was born and raised, or continue to keep going. I decided to keep going and have faith and trust in my Creator. I had to sacrifice, but Allah knows best, and He is all seeing of what we do when we strive in the way of Allah that is pleasing to Allah. He will give back all that we have lost. He will restore everything at that appointed time. Just know there will be some sacrifices that have to be made. You will have to let go of things that are just no good for you. You will have to surrender it. When you surrender everything to Allah, you're surrendering your whole entire life and you're submitting to Allah. Do you even know what that means? That means giving Allah full authority and full access to take over your life, starting with your physical body and your actual life. You will no longer be in control anymore. You will no longer be able to do things your way. Just sit there and think about it. When you were doing things your way, did it work out for you? Have things worked out for you in the past? Are you producing the fruits that you're wishing and hoping for? Is the result coming out the way you want or intended to come out? And if you are doing great, that's fine. But you need to ask yourself, is this pleasing to Allah? Is this what Allah has for me? Are these the plans according to Allah? If not, you're going to have to surrender all of that, no matter where you're at in life. We cannot live in sin. We cannot live according to our own selves, our own doing. We're here to fulfill the plans that Allah has already ordained, orchestrated, and written out. And I'm speaking to the ladies that are non-Muslims. My Muslim sisters, you already know what's up. It's deen over dunya any day. We are to be devout to Allah. We're constantly transforming. We're constantly working on our internal selves. We still face challenges on a regular as a Muslim. The journey is continuously going. It does not stop. it continues. We as Muslims, there are challenges that arise. There are obstacles that we face. But with Allah, we overcome anything. But when I decided to fully let go, I knew I wanted to live in Texas. I knew in 2019 when Allah gave me a revelation. I remember I was speaking out loud to myself, saying that I wanted to live in Houston, Texas, randomly. This came out of nowhere and it came to fruition in 2021. I knew I was coming to live to Texas. At that moment in my life, in the year 2021, I lost everything. I gave my vehicle back that I had just purchased. I lost my job. I ended up breaking my lease to my apartment. By the grace of Allah, I was able to break my lease and pay that balance. I completely gave up everything that I had in my life and had moved back to my grandparents' house with my 3 children. I was not living correctly. I was not putting my priorities first. I always was out partying and doing worldly things. I was living in a delusion and very, very low vibrational. I did not know what I was doing with my life. I did not know what to do in life in general. All I know, I was dealing with things silently at that time in my life. I had to wake up and come to the realization of reality for what it really is. I could not continue to live in this delusion, this deceit, this confusion. That's nothing but the enemy who had a strong grip on me. He has a strong hold on many people. There is a veil over our eyes to where we cannot see things for ourselves clearly. I let go of everything. I had celebrated my birthday that year, and that was the last time I celebrated my birthday and any other holidays. I now no longer celebrate holidays and birthdays due to personal reasons as well as religious. That tradition I grew up with and continued with my kids and was just celebrating each year only because that is what I was used to and that is what I saw growing up. I never took the time to research what the holidays even meant on my own. I would just partake in the festivals with no knowledge of exactly what they meant. I was told fairy tales growing up and being fed lies about what they meant. And it was all incorrect. For some people, it means everything to celebrate birthdays, to celebrate holidays. And I'm not discrediting you for doing what you want to do with your life. That's fine. I'm not here to judge you. I just chose to come up out of that and do things differently. I chose not to celebrate things that are not of Allah. If it has nothing to do with Allah, I'm not celebrating it. There's no reason for me to continue to do something with no real value or meaning. That's what I mean about family systems. We have to come up out of that system. It's very traditional. It holds no real value. I grew up on it and did not know about these holidays. It's just time to change the trajectory and it's time to unlearn things we grew up on and do things the right way. So when I gave up my materials and moved back home with my grandparents, this was before me coming into Islam, which I'm going to get into that. I had ordered a Bible from Amazon, a pink KJV, King James Version. I was divinely doing things, not knowing that it was divinely timing. I have never read the Bible a day in my life. When I ordered the Bible for the very first time, I began reading the Bible. I started there. I learned quickly that I was living the complete opposite of what those scriptures were saying. And that put me in more shame and caused me to realize that I really had to change. I was going through a transformation at that moment, and it did not feel good. It was a weird feeling that I cannot describe. Only those who had repented and fully submitted to Allah know that feeling I had. That whole summer, I had read the Bible. I was just feeling like I needed to get baptized. Thinking to myself, this will make my steps complete to move on in my journey because I have already let go of everything. I had already repented and I fully submitted myself to Allah. That's it. I got into some commotion with my family members at home, with my grandparents and my mother. It was just a lot of chaos going on in my life that summer. My children did not know what was going on. I'm not knowing what is happening. What I do know is things are happening in my life. Changes are happening in my life. A shaking has happened in my life. And it was just time for me to move on. I ended up getting kicked out of my grandparents' house due to my own ignorance and behavior that led me to being put out. But sometimes Allah allows things to happen in our lives to propel us to where we need to be going. I believe Allah used my family members to propel me to move forward, to get me out of the house, to begin the walk, to begin the journey. I was told I had to leave their home with no place to go because I was causing trouble. Honestly, it was me. I was going through some things. I put myself in that situation, and I know my grandfather did not want to do it, but it had to be done. I had to go to a homeless shelter in Elkhart. I ended up being homeless for the very first time with my children, and I stayed there for a couple of weeks. From there, I only had a limited amount of money, and I had one suitcase. So I decided to move to Texas. I ended up taking a flight and moving to Texas with my children. It was Spirit Airlines, which, by the way, I don't really care for their services. This was my first time flying on a plane. It wasn't the best decision to put my children in the situation that I put them in, as I knew I was homeless leaving and I was homeless when I came. We ended up having to fight to get into a homeless shelter out here. It took hours. The enemy was fighting against me entering into this particular shelter or something. It was ridiculous how long it took. But I eventually got accepted into that shelter. I did not know what my life was going to turn out to be as I began this journey. I had no money, but I had faith and I was just seeking. It really takes courage, boldness to up and leave, uproot where you're from, where you've been living all of your life. It takes boldness. It takes courage to take a small amount of money and no backup plan and just go on faith blindly. At the end of the day, you will make it to where you need to be. You just have to get through all of the challenges, all of the hurdles, all of the obstacles, and continue to persevere through it all, no matter how hard it is, because it will get hard for some of us. Not everybody pathway and not everybody journey looks the same or is the same. Some people's journey is a lot harder because that purpose is much bigger, but that work still has to be done. No one can escape the work that has to be done internally. You will transform. No one can escape. And in your transforming process where the internal work is being done, you just have to continue with the journey, no matter what that journey looks like for you. For me, It was homelessness for a couple of years and going through hardship. But in the midst of me being homeless this entire time out here in Texas, which by the way, I'm no longer homeless anymore. Alhamdulillah. Some lessons had to be taught and I had to understand. These are all things about myself I was facing myself in these moments. I was facing all my negative, bad habits, my behaviors, and my wrongdoing. It did not take until now, today, for me to actually click in my brain and understand. I had to go through a lot of being homeless, different shelters, different vehicles, and just trying to find my way to obtain what I needed. It was hard. Again, when you let go and submit to God, you're no longer in control. So imagine me going through homelessness and trying to make things happen. Things don't happen on our own time. It happens on Allah's time, which is a huge lesson right there itself that had to be learned. We have to be very patient. I mean, patient with this journey, with this process, and in life in general. I've been getting taught patience this entire journey. Like, seriously, y'all, a lot of these moments I had to myself was killing me, but I had endured with a lot of resilience and humbleness. It was very hard being homeless. It's mentally, physically, and emotionally draining, but it teaches you a lot about humility. It teaches you to be humble. It teaches you to be patient with Allah and trust and know that He has you. It teaches you a lot about yourself. Listen, ladies, I love you. We have to be here for one another and we have to try to understand each other. If you are friends of one another listening to this podcast, you have to try to listen to your friend to understand too. Connect on a deeper level and try to build a healthy relationship because this life is temporary. This dunya is temporary. Our physical appearance is temporary. There is a hereafter. There is a Jannah, which is paradise that we are striving for to get there, or we should be. We have to live for Allah. We have to worship Allah. We have to surrender to Allah. This is my testimony that I'm bringing forth to you. Well, a part of it because there's more to come. I'm bringing this forth to you to understand that we should not take life for granted. We shouldn't take the people that are in our life for granted. We have to cherish everything that we have in our lives and not take ourselves for granted neither. Because once it's gone, it's over with. Although some materials you can get back, it's material things. But family members, you cannot get back until you get into the hereafter if they are there. And I'm just being very honest. Not everyone makes it there. On that note, I dare you to challenge yourself and look yourself constantly in the mirror and ask, am I pleasing you, Allah? Am I truly living for you, Allah? Am I living in sin? Am I living correctly? If you know you are not living right and you know you are not living righteously or holy, I challenge you to let go of everything and submit to the Most High. He is very loving, caring, generous, and most of all, He's very compassionate. Allah forgives all sins. Nothing is left out. Thank you for listening and thank you for tuning in. Peace, love, and many blessings upon you.